Hello, hello, hello. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another interview with King Solomon Entertainment. We're so excited. We want to just thank everybody for their support, for their comments, for sharing. The platform is growing. We want to thank all the social media platforms that we are on. We have another great interview today for you on King Solomon Entertainment. King Solomon News today. Wonderful, great guests. We're going to share that with you in a minute. You know, before we get started, we always like to thank our partners. And now that we're able to thank our partners in a special way now, so please let us go to thank our partners first, then we'll be right back. Before we do that, please make sure you guys share this um, video. We are on all social media platforms. We're on YouTube, King Solomon Entertainment. We're on Twitter, King Solomon ENT. We're on Facebook, King Solomon Media Group. And we're on Instagram, King _ Solomon _ ENT _ CO _. And we also on LinkedIn, King Solomon in ENT Media Group. Make sure you guys follow us, man. We're growing on all platforms. We're so excited about the wonderful, great, interesting guests we have coming, the topics that we're covering. We are so excited. If you want to support us directly, that is our Cash App. Support us directly. Everything that you do continues to go to promote and develop this platform into something really special. We like your comments. Please give us insight. Please let us know how we're doing. And we just really grateful for that. And we thank you guys for that. And we appreciate it. So therefore, continue to support us and do what we do. At this particular time, I want you guys to just hang tight as we thank our partners. We'll be right back. HeartToHeartForYou.org. Heart to Heart mission is to supply every young person with a new pair of shoes, especially those who need them. A domestic and international nonprofit organization. 844-237-6344. Tell them King Solomon sent you. Dr. Amanda J. Rosette, Doctor of Physical Therapy, low back, neck, shoulder pain management, post-surgical rehabilitation. RosettePhysicalTherapy.com, 424-243-5261. Tell them King Solomon sent you. Thank you guys so much. Thank our partners. Make sure you connect with them. Let them know that King Solomon sent you. We are so excited what they're doing and what we're growing here on the platform at King Solomon News and our other programs that's on this platform. Without further ado, we have a wonderful, great interview with you today with King Solomon News. We have author, a mother, an activist, an ally, an advocate. She wrote this wonderful book that's called Looking for Love in a Garbage Can, CAN. She also just have a wonderful message of healing and inclusion. And we're so happy to have with us today author Lisa M. Sanchez. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the invite. I look forward to a great conversation.
Yes. So you're doing wonderful things. I had you on because we love authors. We love entrepreneurship. We love just great topics and beautiful stories that we like to share and get out on this platform, especially on the King Solomon News platform, because people need to be aware about it. People need to know about it. And so you have a wonderful message in your book and the work that you're doing. So let's start off in not only to get into the book, but to how did it come about? You know, you have a wonderful story. Please let the audience know, how did the book even come about?
Yes, this book was a journey, honestly. I wrote this book 10 years ago, and it really just journaled my mental health story, living in a violent, dysfunctional, alcoholic environment, and what it does to children in this environment. And so as a kid, I really just took comfort in the written word, and so I used to journal a lot. And then over time, it just turned into my book. And I was really inspired by my mother, someone who endured domestic violence at the hands of my father, who showed up in life living outwardly like nothing was wrong, but catching hell when she got home, which meant that the children did. And so I was really inspired to tell my story and help others understand that there is a light at the end of the tunnel if you're willing to just dig into your circumstances and do the healing that's necessary to come out on the other side.
Yes, everybody's story is handpicked, I believe handpicked by God, customary, although we have transcending topics, but even individually, our story is different. So let's start off by saying, as a society as a whole. And I'm going somewhere with this because when it comes to alcoholism, it's a variation what people in society deems as an alcoholic.
Mm.
Some people say they're social drinkers. Some people say, they only drink, at parties, whatever. And so therefore, let's define, so we can really get into your trauma and what happened to you. How do you define an alcoholic? How did you see or diagnose that your father was an alcoholic per se?
Let me tell you, I knew when I was age 6 that something was wrong in my home. I didn't know it was alcoholism. You don't know what that is at age 6.
Hmm.
But from age 6, and then you add on decades and decades and decades. And then as you get older, you see that it is the drinking that is a trigger for the behaviors that you're seeing in the home. So I would probably have classified my dad as a functional alcoholic, never missed a day of work, but
Mm.
he drank because for whatever demons were in him, he wreaked havoc on his family. And I mean, chasing us out of the house with a gun, cutting, breaking, destroying, physically abusive toward my mother. This is the disease of alcoholism. He was not what I would call a social drinker. My dad drank to get drunk, and I describe him as a terrorist. He terrorized us.
Yeah. One of the interesting comparison and diagnosis in this particular topic of alcoholism is how an individual, not only what they endure as a adolescent, as a child, but also on the job when they are not able to express themselves fully or be used at their full potential, they come and take it out on the family because they can't be a man and become their full potential in society. So that was an interesting topic that some finding research study that I was looking at in one aspect of alcoholism. But it's interesting. I know your dad's story particularly, but yeah. So somehow that was able to come home where he felt like he was in control and he wreaked havoc. And so as a result of that, how did you begin to I know you said part 1, part 2, part 3, but it starts your healing process. Once you now figured out something was wrong, now you grow up and it's like, okay, how has this affected me? And you probably didn't know it right away, but you was experiencing it. But how did you begin to notice that you was affected by what happened to you in your childhood?
It took a long time, honestly. I was ill prepared to enter this world. I was broken, fractured. My self esteem was low. My self value and worth were low. And that's how I showed up at work. That's how I showed up in friendships. That's how I showed up in what I thought was love, but what turned out to be abusive relationships that I entered into time and time and time again. But at the same time, I'm not recognizing that it's my home life, that it's childhood trauma, that it is the child molestations that I experienced. I'm just showing up in this world thinking, it's the next person. So it was decades before I realized that something was wrong with me. So I'm a woman in my 50s, mid 50s. About 10, 12 years ago, I had a breakup where the guy dropped me like a bad habit.
Mm.
And I just thought my life was over. Like, how
Mm.
could I go on without this man in my life? And I knew then that I needed to make a change because the common denominator was me.
Hmm.
I was the other part of that relationship. And so throughout my life, I was seeing therapists because you've got to find a way to fix yourself, heal yourself, get better. And after seeing a therapist, that therapist let me see that even that relationship was another abusive relationship. He was controlling me in ways that just were not healthy for me. And so that is the moment 10, 12 years ago when I said, I need to go on my journey of healing, work on me from the inside out. The
Mm.
outside was always dolled up, right? I had the latest fashion, the nicest car, the this, the that, but all of that was superficial and nonsense. My insides needed to be healed. And so that's when I just started reading and understanding me, getting to know me. I say in the book, the greatest cure for my breakup with someone was finding the next person to take his place. Like I never sat still to process. And so I made a choice, because this is what we're talking about here. It's the choices you make in your life. I made a choice to pause and work on me. And that really was my journey of healing, is reading and seeing a therapist and not entering yet into another relationship and just doing the work on me.
Yeah, that's a lot of people's problem. They go from one relationship to another without seeing, something that the part they played in their unhappiness or in a relationship. And people, they say they never take that time to find out who they are, because it might scare them to death if they find out who they really are. But that work needs to be done. So please let us in a little bit on the prognosis, because now that you discovered it, you're doing this internal healing process. You say a part 1, part 2, part 3 of the healing process. So take us a little bit on the pragmatic to kind of help somebody who's listening to this, how you can begin to heal yourself.
The first thing you have to do, and I speak from my experience growing up in an alcoholic environment, you have to recognize that you cannot control the alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I spent my life, trying to keep the peace in the house, trying to not disturb daddy, all that stuff. Did mom not pay her bills on time? Like checking my mother's behavior. That's a terrible way to live as a teenager, as a child, as an adult. And so first and foremost, is I needed to recognize that I could not control my father. The second thing is, because I walked around for years with this dumpster attached to me filled with hate toward my father, sadness, depression, fear, this, that. I had to find a way to unleash all of that negativity, all of that out of my vibration. And the way I did that was through forgiveness. What I want people to understand is that forgiveness is freedom. Never let ill feelings about people or your circumstances take up residency in your heart. And so not only did I forgive my father, I forgave my mother. My mother was a victim in this case, but I still had to forgive her because I was mad at her for not getting us kids out of that environment. But what I came to realize is that both of my parents did the best they could with what they had. And so you have to give people grace for where they are in their life and the circumstances that they're dealing with. And so I also had to forgive myself. Forgive me for any choices that I had ever made in my life. Because if you don't forgive, you hold not only those people hostage, but you hold yourself hostage. And you have to really find a way to break free from that. And that doesn't mean you forget, but you can certainly forgive and give people a little bit of grace for where they are in their life. And so I had to, again, recognize that I couldn't control my father. I had to understand that forgiveness was the start. And then I just had to cleanse myself and slowly but surely work on my self-love, my self-care, and my self-value. And that we own that. We own that. Not the abuser, not the alcoholic. We own that. And there's a sense of empowerment that comes with that. Freedom that comes with that. That really sets you on your stage for healing.
Yeah, I believe that. We here with author Lisa M. Sanchez, wrote a wonderful, wonderful book called Looking for Love in a Garbage Can, CANKN. It's a beautiful, beautiful journey of healing, life healing, self-reflection, self-care. She's letting us in on her personal journey, her personal story. And in echoing what you just said, Laz, in hindsight of your experience, how did it affect your self-esteem, your confidence, how you figured you were self-worth? And you used the word equity. I like that. How did that in your your own personal perspective, How would you articulate that?
Ooh, it showed up in different ways. I modeled my mother in a lot of ways because my self-esteem was so fractured. I was submissive in relationships. I didn't dare speak back in relationships. I rarely said no, even when, you know, in my heart I wanted to say, or I rarely said yes, I should say, even when I wanted to say no, or I wasn't comfortable about something. I was a pleaser. And I also manifested my environment through nervous conditions,
Mm,
hair pulling. There's a long word for it that I can't even pronounce, but I talk about it in my book. It is this compulsion to pull your hair as a nervous condition. I had eczema, migraines, depression. So all of that manifested and showed up in how fractured I was and how fractured my self-esteem was. And I also say in the book that I was a counterfeit. I was a fraud because I showed up at school like the class clown, that girl who was funny, had everybody cracking up. But as soon as I got on that school bus, my stomach would turn
mm,
because I knew I had to go home and hear my dad's mouth, and I wanted to silence him.
mm,
I honestly, I wanted to. I talk about this in my book, how I plotted how I would kill my dad, but I couldn't because I love my dad. I loved him and I hated him. I loved him and I hated him.
mm,
And this is such an impact on your self-esteem and that relationship that a girl wants with her dad, to sit
mm,
on his lap and say, Daddy, this is what happened with me today. But I
mm,
couldn't do that because we were on pins and needles.
mm,
My dad was like a time bomb. He
mm,
was quick. If something annoyed him, he was quick with his response, and it was fiery.
mm,
If someone said anything nice about my mother, it was like he blew a
mm,
stack. He just, how, don't say that. And my father came here to the United States. He was from Ecuador,
mm.
showing up in this world as a brown skinned man,
Yes.
Spanish as his first language, with a thick accent. And he never fit in. He would say, I am a foreigner in this country. This
Mm,
country, they don't treat me well because I have
mm,
an accent and my skin is brown. And this is the problem. Our country is unforgiving of people who come here for the American dream. That's all my dad ever wanted, was the American dream. But he felt a lot of pressure. His family back in Ecuador, milking him for money. Send us money. We're in poverty. Why'd you leave us? Right? And I think that was part of his demons. And he drank. And he drank and he blamed my mother. He blamed this family. And by the way, my dad ended up having 3 children while married to my mother. We would call that in the community like ghetto twins, right? Because these kids were literally months apart from my own blood siblings that lived in my same home. So we dealt with a lot. We dealt with a lot. And
How many siblings your mom had? I mean, how many children?
so 4 of us growing up in the same household. And there was this one girl, I talk about this in the book, this one little girl that used to play with us.
Mm,
I was the youngest, so I didn't really know who she was, but I later learned she was her half sister.
oh,
And then when I was 33, I get this phone call, one of those, this phone call might disturb you, but I want you to know that I'm your sister. So
wow.
there's number 2. And then it wasn't until 2016, in the age of Ancestry.com and all these other things where you can do your DNA, my brother found yet another sister
Mm.
4 months before my dad died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there goes this idea that I was the youngest because she's actually 6 years younger than I am.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
let the audience in on what that conversation was like with your mother, that reconciliation, or your mother explaining why she stayed or her rationale of it? Can you let us in a little bit on that?
Absolutely. So It wasn't until really my teenage years where I had, maybe the courage is the right word, but I was so fed up. I had suicidal ideation. I just couldn't take another day of this terror. And I sat with my mother, why do you stay? My mother had the answer that a lot of women have, born in her era, which was the 1920s. My mother was born in 1928.
Mm,
I'm staying for you kids. I'm
mm,
staying because this is my house. I'm staying because I'm standing by my husband. And that's hard to reconcile as a child, as a teenager. Seeing this abuse and seeing your mother stay. And what is that teaching me?
mm,
What is that teaching me? It taught me to stay in abusive relationships, even those relationships that I knew weren't good for me. But that's what I was modeling. It must be something I'm doing. Maybe if I adjust myself, then this person won't abuse me. But we've got to, people who are in abusive relationships, and not just women, men can be in abusive relationships as well. This happens in same-sex relationships, LGBTQ communities. It's never okay. And so we have to find resources for people to get help, to reach out and have someone grab their hand. It's a tough environment to be in. In my book, I write 2 letters, one to my father, one to my mother, where I let it all out. This was part of therapy. The therapist says you can write your letter even if you don't give it to them. So I write it out, and it's very heartfelt, and people are really resonating with those letters. But I was really mad at my mom. You were his enabler. You were his pusher. Why
mm,
didn't you get us out of this situation?
mm.
But she stayed for us. And to me, I remember, I was thinking about this. I remember as a kid wishing that my parents would get a divorce. I
Mm.
was too young to even know what a divorce was. All I know is that the kids at school, in my elementary school, they were saying, oh, my parents are divorced. They don't live together. I was like, oh, what is that? What is that? I want to try that. You know, I wanted peace in my life, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. What can people expect as a result of reading your book, getting your book? What can they expect?
What they can expect is that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And as they say, it's not another train coming at you. There's a beauty of the story. The beauty is, yes, I had a hard journey. I had a hard road, but so does a lot of other people. And so I created a company called Just Dig Into It. It's a life coach business. And that is to help people understand that if you just dig in, get dirty, do the work necessary for your healing, you are going to find that you have a beautiful life on the other side.
Mm.
And that is what I am experiencing through self-care, through self-love, through self-empowerment, all driven by me. I drive my story. I drive my narrative, not anybody else. So there is a forgiving story in the end, a healing story in the end. And that is really the most important part.
That's a beautiful message, beautiful story. I'm here today with author Lisa M. Sanchez, who wrote a brilliant book called Looking for Love in a Garbage Can, CAN, her own personal life journey on her road to healing. Beautiful, beautiful story. She's an advocate of self-worth, having confidence, relationship. She's also a big advocate of diversity and inclusion and the culture. Definitely check this book out. It's worth the read. Please let them know where they can receive this book from. Your social media, please.
Absolutely. So my book is available on Amazon, and the full title is Looking for Love in a Garbage Can, A Journey of Healing, How I Survived an Alcoholic Environment.
Mm.
If someone wants to direct message me, or what they say, DM me on Instagram at Just Dig Into It, you can purchase directly from me that way. I do have my own inventory, but it is available on Amazon.
And you sign the ones that they get.
I absolutely do. Package it up nicely and send it on out to you.
Amazing. So for sure,
Yeah,
definitely do that. Reach out to her. I'm so glad to have you on. We got to have you back because we have several other platforms, and we have a platform called Patronage where we support businesses. And so we definitely got to have you on and talk about your business. And so we love to have
absolutely.
you back on. Thank you so much for joining us. Definitely reach out, connect, see how you can, support her and grow with her and follow her. Thank you so much, Arthur Lisa M. Sanchez, for your wonderful work and coming on today. We thank you so much. Yeah, looking for love in a garbage can, a journey of healing, how I survived an alcoholic environment. Wonderful, wonderful book, wonderful story. Thank you so much. Anytime, come back. We love to have you on again for anything else you're promoting. Thank you so much. And till next time, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciated it.
All right, dear. Make sure you follow us. We follow you back.
Absolutely, I did.
All right. All right.
All right, thank you.
There you go. Another great interview. King Solomon Entertainment Media and King Solomon News today. We thank you so much for the wonderful, wonderful guest, Arthur Lisa M. Sanchez. Beautiful story. Make sure you connect with her. Reach out to her. We want to definitely ask you guys to share this video. Great video, great interview. We have one for other great interviews and great stuff coming up as well on our other platforms. You guys know we have Hollywood Now, we have King Solomon News, we have the Patronage, we have Cultural Scribes. Check us out on King Solomon Entertainment. We are definitely doing what we need to do. We are on all social media platforms, YouTube, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, Instagram. Share, and subscribe. Support us directly with Cash App and definitely support us. We are continue to grow this platform as we continue to reach more and more people. We cannot help but to support and thank our sponsors one more time before we leave. And so we'll do that now. Hold tight. HeartToHeartForYou.org. Heart to Heart mission is to supply every young person with a new pair of shoes, especially those who need them. A domestic and international nonprofit organization. HeartToHeartForYou.org. Heart to Heart mission is to supply every young person with a new pair of shoes, especially those who need them. A domestic and international nonprofit organization. 844-237-6344. Tell them King Solomon sent you. Come Massage Therapy Group. We come to you. You can come to us. You in charge. 951-210-2945. 28991 Old Town Front, suite number 208, Temecula, California. ComoMassage.com. Tell them King Solomon sent you and ask for the King's discount. Dr. Amanda J. Rosette, Doctor of Physical Therapy, low back, neck, shoulder pain management, post-surgical rehabilitation. RosettePhysicalTherapy.com. 424-243-5261. Tell them King Solomon sent you. There you go. We want to thank our partners for their wonderful contribution. Something we did for them to put together, how to reach out to them. And if you are interested in connecting with us in sponsorship, please reach out to our official website, KingSolomonEntertainment.tv. Our website is on there, and we'll share with you how you connect with us and how you become a partner and sponsor with us. Thank you guys so much for what you guys, what you do for us, which is your major support. We want to hear from you. Let us know how we're doing. So definitely subscribe and share. Until next time, King Solomon News. I got to see you guys.